Hi everyone, my name is Kate Milazzo and I'm here to do a professional development for teachers on a mindful classroom. So let's start with what mindfulness is. Mindfulness is basically being fully present and fully aware of yourself, your thoughts, and just being in a non-judgmental way. So you're not thinking into anything, you're not asking why is this happening, you're just being aware of what's happening. So I think this picture is a great picture to represent being mindful, having a mind full, or being mindful. As you can see, the person walking the dog is thinking about the 90 million things they have to do, which is like most of us. And the dog is being fully present at that walk. He's noticing the trees, he's noticing the sun, and he's just being present overall. That's what mindfulness is. And bringing this into the classroom can help teach your students the social emotional skills that they may not be getting anywhere else, and something that is not pushed for in a classroom. So this is a great way to increase their knowledge on their social emotional sides. Who benefits from mindfulness? Well, basically everyone. General education students need it as much as special education students, as much as the students with behavioral students with behavioral difficulties need it. Everyone in the classroom has their burnout state where they can't go anymore, they've learned too much, and now it's overload. Having a minute or two in the classroom to just close your eyes and think about nothing and just kind of turn off and just be really helps increase productivity as well as enthusiasm in the classroom, because they're not being overloaded, they're not being overstimulated, and in the end they're getting what they need out of the class rather than just sitting there daydreaming. It also helps them refocus when it's been a long day, maybe they just had a fight at lunch with their friends. It helps them refocus. It can also help in the classroom during transitions. So if you're transitioning from the carpet to the desk and also doing a subject change during this time, you may, once all the students get to their desk, you may choose to just take a mindful minute, everybody close your eyes and focus on your breathing. Do that for a minute and then everybody comes back together when they're ready and you can start the lesson. This just brings everybody to the same spot. Everyone is now refocused and they're not thinking about what just happened on the carpet. And at Laura Donovan Elementary School, which is where I am doing my internship right now, my supervisor and I have been doing mindful lessons, which are it's a 16-week unit, and we're going into kindergarten, first and second grade classes and doing mindfulness lessons. So the first 3 lessons were on a mindful body, which is sitting, grounding your feet to the floor if you're sitting in a chair, or crisscross applesauce if you're on the ground with your hands in your lap and you're just silent. So we practiced that. We also did mindful listening and a mindful heart. So we'll talk about a mindful heart later on. Mindful listening is just listening to your body and what is it telling you, or listening to the bell and listening for how long it takes until it goes away. And the more mindful you are, the longer you're able to hear the bell. It's amazing the results that we've seen. A lot of teachers have been saying that before we did the mindfulness lessons, they were just yelling over their students, just escalating the craziness in the classroom. And now all the teacher has to say is everybody in their mindful body, and everyone's just like, great posture, quiet, mouth shut, and they're ready to learn. So it is amazing that how fast they pick up on this and how much they actually enjoy learning the social emotional aspects of the day. Why choose mindfulness? Well, mindfulness gives students the opportunity to manage strong feelings and impulses. A lot of students who have behavioral issues don't have the tools they need to handle their problems. So it may feel like their problems are controlling them because they don't have a toolkit to help them control their emotions. And mindfulness is great because we're not fixing it for the student. The student actually is fixing fixing, or not even fixing, but controlling themselves. So they are learning how to control themselves. It's better than punishment because they're not learning not to do it again, because sometimes they feel like they just can't help it, but they're learning that I can take a second for myself, breathe, and think about what just happened and how I can react or how I can react to this situation rather than I'm just going to do this and not think about it. Now they have the tools they need to take a step back, breathe, and maybe approach a teacher instead of hitting the student who just made them angry. So that's why we choose mindfulness. Also, there's a lot of testing now in schools, which brings up anxiety and a lot of stress for students because they have a lot of pressure on them to succeed. So doing mindfulness gives them that other aspect of the school day where, all right, we may be stressed for a little bit, we may need to have a little bit of anxiety, but after that we're going to do a progressive relaxation and we're going to relax and we're going to think about what just happened, and now we're going to just take a second for ourselves, which is so important, and so important to learn at an early age because as adults we need that as well. We need to practice self-care, we need to take a second for ourselves, and it's something that a lot of us lack because we weren't taught that. So this is why teaching mindfulness is so important. It's also, research shows that teaching them social and emotional skills can increase grades and test scores and increases enthusiasm. It's fun, especially if you throw in some poses you can do. Tree pose with each other is really fun. You help balance and it promotes community. It's so you're teaching them pro-social behaviors in the classroom, and they were found in research to be better predictors of academic achievement than were standardized test scores, which makes sense because you could be smart but not be able to, you may not have any social skills, but having those social skills will help you succeed because you're not getting in trouble, you're not stressed about the drama that just happened at lunch, you're focused on what you're doing. So it makes sense. Also, it also makes sense because your brain functions of learning and emotions, they're all connected. So everything in your head is connected. So just taking time to realize that and taking time for yourself can help increase that capability in school that you may not have had if you didn't take a second because you would burn out. So daily lives of students are crazy. Talk to any fifth grader and it's like talking to an adult. They have soccer practice, they have school, they have chorus practice in the morning, then they have all this homework, and they never stop. So on top of all of the things that they have to do, they also have to deal with now social media, which is crazy. They have to think about what they're posting and if they look like they're having as much fun as their friends. They also have to worry about cyberbullying. There's a lot of pressure on them, physically, mentally, socially, and academically. So there's a lot of pressure on students right now. There's also a high rate of divorce. So if a child's going through a divorce, they're not going to be able to maybe focus in the classroom. But if you give them that time to reset, focus on the here and now, they may have more of an opportunity to grasp concepts in the classroom than they were able to beforehand. There's also the media, which shows everything from role models who may not be great role models to violence. And the Yoga Calm creator Lene Gillen says that by the age of 18, the average teen has spent nearly $16,000 hours in front of the TV compared to the 13,000 hours in the classroom. So while they are watching all of this TV, they are viewing so many violent acts, which has an effect on you in the long run. So the benefits of mindfulness. So with everything I just said, the daily lives of children are crazy. So the benefits are great because they learn how to gain the ability to be still. Some adults don't even know how to be still. I would say most adults don't know how to be still. So instilling this in children at a young age will help them when they get older as adults to have these tools, to have the control over themselves, and we can combat whatever it is at a young age rather than waiting till we're older, going through a breakdown, and it being harder to learn all of these tools. You're also learning how to show compassion and support for one another through different skills, and you're sending love with a mindful heart. So it's great practice for everything. It also gives students tools to help manage strong emotions and keep control, which we talked about before. And it gives students a positive outlook for processing feelings. Some students who've been through traumatic or who have traumatic backgrounds may not know how to process their feelings. They've been through a lot, and when they are at home, they're not thinking, they're in a hostile environment, so when they come to school, they're not thinking about how they can, pass a math test. They're thinking about how they can survive. So they may have this front up, but giving them this mindful tool will help them just reset, like I keep saying. It also builds a sense of community. Everyone's doing it, everyone loves it, so it's great. So how are we going to integrate this in the classroom? Well, there are 5 principles that Yoga Calm talks about, and it's stillness, listening, grounding, strength, and community. Stillness is the ability to quiet the mind, be self-aware, develop that sensitivity, and self-control and self-regulation, which is what which we hope all students will learn in school. Also, listening is to hear what your mind and body have to say. Grounding is being physically present in the body, so keeping your feet on the ground, grounding those feet, keeping your hands on your lap when you're breathing, closing your eyes, just physically present. And strength, there's 3 types of strength. There's physical strength, mental strength, which is like positive self-talk, and emotional strength. So this is a mind-body approach, so you're using your body and your mind simultaneously in order to help calm yourselves, and it integrates a child's emotional needs, mental needs, and physical needs, and that all comes together in mindfulness. So Lene Gillen also talks about activities in which you can use to practice mindfulness in the classroom, and you start with a calm activity, which is breathing or listening to that bell. Then you activate, which is more movement, and then you end with the calm. And when you end with that calm, that students are all ready to go back to the classroom, take their deep breath, and get ready to go and learn again. So there are so many different techniques, but I'm going to talk about 3 with you right now. I stated before that progressive relaxation is great as a great strategy, and you can use this after a test to de-stress from the anxiety or overstimulation that they just have from a test. And this is when you just slowly tense and release different muscle groups in the body, and this just helps relax the body, and it's great after a test, and it just helps you relax. When you have a headache and you just scrunch up your face and then relax your face, it feels great. There's also breathing. So there's so many different breathing techniques. The most basic one that you would want to start with your classroom is teaching them how to breathe correctly. So placing your hand on your stomach, and you can even put your hand here, and just really taking those diaphragmatic breaths and feeling your stomach fill with air and release. And you always want to breathe in your nose and out your nose. This is great if you want to do a mindful minute, and you just breathe, focus on your breathing. What I like to do in order to stop the intrusive thoughts that I'm constantly feeling is I just focus on breathe in, breathe out. So when I'm sitting there and every time I breathe in, I say breathe in, every time I breathe out, I say breathe out in my head. And that helps me stay in the present moment rather than getting caught up in thoughts that may pop into my head while I'm breathing. There's also volcano breaths, which is a great strategy to also pair with an activity. So every morning you may want to start with a volcano breath and set an intention for the class. So for example, my intention for the day is for everyone to get along and everybody to enjoy themselves. So what I did was I breathe in, I pause, and then I breathe out, and as I'm exhaling, I am bringing my hands around, and then I bring them back to center. That's so fun, and it's great to set an intention for the day. If you have a math test for the day, you may say, my intention is for all of you to try your best and work your hardest on this test, and then you do your volcano breath. You can also do something that's really fun, which is sending positive thoughts, which is where the mindful heart comes into play. So if you're doing your volcano breath and you say, let's think of someone really special that you want to send positive thoughts to, and then when you're ready, you send your volcano breath to that someone special in a slower, more meaningful process. And then at the end, you can all share who you decided to send your thoughts to, and that's really fun for kids to just talk about who's special and to them and who makes an impact on them, and you'll be able to learn more about the student than you would be if you hadn't done this, and they'll be more willing to speak about this when everyone else in the classroom is also sending a positive thought to their family. So these are just a few techniques you can use, but there are so many on Google and Pinterest that you can look up. There are so many evidence-based strategies which are great and that you can use that have evidence of this actually working and calming. And like I said, we've been doing this in the classroom for 4 weeks now, and the teachers are already talking about how great it is to have that tool in the back. If they have a child who's overwhelmed, they say, let me see your calm body, let's relax, let's take a couple deep breaths, and then the child's able to verbalize what's bothering them rather than physically getting violent or just shutting down. So I hope that these techniques are something that you will be able to use in your classrooms and hopefully be able to have work and really use. I hope this is useful for you. And thank you so much for partaking in this professional development, and I hope that you have a lot of success. So thank you.